we're seeing a lot where like salesmen are coming through and they're saying, hey, if we put these $50,000 of solar panels on your house, it's going to increase the value of your house $50,000, $60,000. And appraisers have a completely different thought about that valuation.
Welcome, everyone, to the Closing Table Podcast, real accounts from real estate professionals from across the nation, brought to you by WindowStill. I'm your host, Kat Schooler, and today I am speaking with real estate agent Brock Love with Next Move Real Estate in the Greater Savannah, Georgia area. Brock, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you for being here.
Thank y'all for having me.
Oh, let's just get right into it. How did you get started in real estate?
It actually started from going on family vacations with like my long-term girlfriend and her mom. Like for me, I've been working W-2 in the engineering world like my whole life really since I was 19, and I would always be stoked about vacation and being able to turn off my brain and just not even focus on work at all. And we'd go on these family vacations and she'd just be constantly working, but like not in a like all the time. I'd be like, well, what, we're on vacation. Why don't you sit back and relax some? She's like, well, I love my job. I love taking care of my agents. And it was like seeing this perspective that there was an industry out there where I guess it's so in touch with like the human side of what goes on when buying and selling homes that like being motivated to work all the time. I was like, that seemed really appealing to me because I'm, just so used to like engineering crunch pressure. And so I started talking to her more and more, and it took like 3 years for me to really like get up the nerves to go out there and start doing my pre-licensing course. But pretty much once I got like my first clients running, I realized like I'm now that person. We go out on vacation and I'm just like constantly in touch with clients, lenders, attorneys. Like I'm just still trying to do as much as I can with my job. It's hard to like put it down. It's an industry that doesn't stop. It doesn't care if you take a vacation. And but it was mostly just watching Carmen. Carmen is a awesome like mentor to be under. She's been fantastic, and seeing somebody that loves their job that much is what motivated me.
That is so cool. And would you say then, and it sounds like that it was everything you thought it would be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more than I thought it would be because I wasn't seeing like what she was going through. She'd be talking to agents sometimes, clients other times, other brokers, other agents, not in her office. And once I got licensed and started making sense of it, because it just like it was an overwhelming amount of information when I got in the course, and I was just like, wait, this, you only see one little perspective of it. There's so much to it. Being a lot more than I thought it was, but so far I can say I've enjoyed 99% of it. There's a,
That's
there's a,
awesome.
there's a 1% out there that has been a little bit tough, but
I think everybody has that. Like, you can't be happy all the time. You can be happy
correct.
99% of the time.
It'd probably
That's
be bad
so
if we were happy all the time anyways. Like the pressure is what makes you better.
a little bit. Yeah, it lights a little fire under you. That's so cool. So is Carmen still your mentor in a way?
Yeah, she's my mentor, my broker, and now she's actually my mother-in-law as well. So
Oh,
that happened
amazing.
after, yeah, several years, but it's been a pretty cool little evolution in the office.
That is so cool. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
what would you say in in the time since you've got licensed and till now are some of like the biggest lessons you've picked up along the way?
That is a really good question. Wow. Ask it again. Ask it again. I need
Yes,
more time.
it's all good. Like maybe, if you could start over today, here, maybe we'll rephrase it. If you could start over today, knowing everything you know now, what would you be doing differently?
I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, but I think I would be doing things mostly the same way as I'm doing them now, and that is because of the mentorship I've had. I mean, like, there's a few things I learned. Definitely learned that it's not all rainbow, sunshine, and butterflies over here. Definitely came in a market that was really tough. Like when you're first getting licensed, it does seem more organic that you are representing buyers more often than listings. At least in my case, and I was coming up in a market where the whole thing with our fiduciary responsibility was in this really murky place because people need a place to live, but you were also losing 10, 15 offers at a time because, clients, I mean, who would want to ever encourage an appraisal gap type stuff. It was a weird market to be in. But I don't think I'd do anything differently because I was always listening to like my clients' needs, and just kind of navigating from there. Like when people would say they would want feedback, why their offer would not get accepted back in like 2021 and 22, I'd tell them like, everything on the offer is great except that, the other offers have an appraisal gap. And I don't, nobody likes to encourage it. I mean, they don't financially make sense or pay off. And if it's not like a completely long-term house, which most people stay forever home all the time, they're really only ever in the house 5, 7, 8 years. It's financially did not always make sense to lock in that incredibly low interest rate if it took a ton of cash to get to the tables. But when clients would come to me and say, like, if we can't find a house in the next 2 months, we're moving back to North Carolina and we don't want to be there, but we have no choice. We have a kid on the way, you would have to kind of just navigate and talk about some uncomfortable stuff that was happening in the market. But I don't think I'd do it differently. Like that family specifically was coming to mind. I was at the end of the day, they were stoked when they finally did. The first time we wrote the appraisal gap, boom, it happened. Got under contract. They loved their house. Had their family. Got to work in the area, and like so, I know that at the end of the day, I did my job. It was a very uncomfortable time. We didn't have a lot of flexibility in that first stage. Like you could only negotiate on behalf of your clients so much. And I guess there we go. If I knew what I know now, I mean, the timing would have to be different. Like, I'm loving this market we're in because I'm learning way more about negotiating a fiduciary responsibility. And I know this sounds crazy, and this probably actually makes me sound like a bad agent, but like my third year in, because the market is where it is. I mean, we're like one of the fastest growing economic areas in the country right now. So like, just with our supply demand issues we're having, it's often very competitive out here. But like it's in this perfect balance where we are allowed to negotiate again. We are always able to negotiate, but at the end of the day, when 20 offers have something that your offer doesn't, sellers are making this decision that's safest for them. Um, but like now, I'm learning it definitely. There's a different edge to real estate that I'm loving way more. I don't think 2 years ago I could have got an entire HVAC system replaced before closing, and I just got that done in January. It was like, just seeing more of the pieces come in as we get into a more balanced market, getting to see that there's just not just when you're on the buyer side that this is just how you operate. When you're on the listing side, it's mostly just you're going to put the listing up, get multiple. You're going to put the best services you can. Thankful with WindowStill because y'all do allow that. With the Matterport, the drones, the photos. And at the end of the day, there's just such a supply and demand issue that you'll get 15 offers in, and it's really just navigating and negotiating against those offers. Now it's a much different stage of real estate. It's honestly right, probably where it needs to be. It should be a more balanced market than we've had.
Wow, we're really getting to the good part, and I can't wait for you to hear what comes next. But first, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to make sure you are following and subscribed to the Closing Table podcast wherever it is you get your podcasts. Also, please leave us a comment or review. It is the best no-cost thing you can do for the podcast, and it helps us grow and find more awesome listeners like you. Now back to the episode.
That does come
That's
with the
cool.
downside of higher interest rates, but
Yeah. I think it's cool that you wouldn't really change much. I think it really speaks to like you being on the right path and like having found the right people to mentor you in this process. Um and I think like in terms of like confidence to like kind of negotiate like a whole HVAC system, I can't imagine almost anyone coming out of the gate, just,
nah.
guns blazing, like I'm going to get everything. I think that kind of confidence and that kind of like ability to negotiate only comes with time.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes with time and with some balancing in the market, because I could have tried that in 2022, and I mean, it would just been in like I could see now listing agents just being like, well, just go ahead and send over the termination. We'll move on to the one of seven backup offers. It was just a weird state, and it was unfair to buyers for quite a bit. But like I said, where it's at now, it comes with a little bit higher interest rate, but we're getting seller concessions. We're getting help at the closing table. Sometimes, I mean, I just had a closing last month where my clients got a check written back to them at closing. They did 100% financing. We negotiated so much on the closing costs that actually came in with a surplus when the pricing was done. And I think they had like a $680 check written to them for buying a house. So, I don't think that
Wow.
would have ever happened 2 years ago.
I don't think most people expect that to happen ever.
No, that is one benefit, out here in Effingham, which is a little bit further out from Savannah. We're one county over. Um, we have what's called USDA rural advocacy financing. So
Mm,
there's a lot of areas where you can do 100% financing, and it kind of opens up the door to things like that sometimes. It's pretty cool.
wow, that is really cool. So, in theme with working with clients, and especially as the market has been a bit of a roller coaster these past 3 or 4 years, how do you how do you help your clients along kind of the bumpy road of home buying?
If we're on the home buying side, first always just, kind of get them knowing that like there's always that 3 points of negotiation for most deals. Subject to financing, you're gonna have appraisal, your due diligence, and then that initial offer. So that's actually in reverse order: initial offer, then your due diligence, inspection, negotiation, then any appraisal, financing, and negotiation. Mostly I've learned that a lot of it is about like managing expectations first, like going in, and at the price is kind of comping high. It's on the higher side, but that's where they're set on that house. We're trying to get like the best offer we can for them. Seller's got to accept it. You still need to get the best deal for your client. Trying to thread that needle and just letting them know, like, hey, okay, house is beautiful. It's showing well. It is listed at the tip of the comps. Like, let's not worry about it right now. There's nothing you can do. Nothing ever benefits from worrying early on, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Getting those expectations set that, we may have to discuss things at the appraisal stage. We may have to sit there and kind of rework some closing concessions as things get further on. Managing expectations has been huge. Getting them, really to trust the team. Like, obviously, I want them to trust me, but even more importantly, I want them to trust their lender. So, like, when their lenders start getting in touch with them, whichever one they choose, just knowing like there's no reason to hide anything from those lenders. They're acting on behalf of that client. They're doing everything they can to get them in the house, and so the people that start hiding, you know, you can't hide certain stuff on your credit report, but hiding deposits or wanting to, go and spend a little bit of money on things that you absolutely should not during underwriting, like just getting them to trust the process, trust the team. That helps. I mean, that'll smooth out most of the bumps right then and there. If you get people that work seamlessly with their lender and with us, I mean, we are professionals for a reason. We can pretty much get that homes like we can get it to the closing table pretty smoothly. But there are always curveballs. Not every transaction. I mean, there's some that it's weird. You'll get to the closing table and be like, man, this one was a breeze. Like maybe, the compensation feels weird. And then you'll have others that your lowest commission ones might sometimes be like the rockiest of roads. So it all is a balancing act. Um, when we hit those bumps, it's mostly just having the connections, having like contractors, contacts, and just the knowledge to know how to just pretty much navigate through each rough spot. And I'm not a know-it-all. Like I don't know everything, but the fantastic thing is I am surrounded by, within the 80 agents and my broker alone, she has 30 years of experience. Like somebody can help me. If I'm finally seeing something new at this point, somebody can help me still get through it. Like whether it's solar panels, like the how topsy-turvy valuation gets with solar panels, if it's the fact that, you have a window busted out in the kitchen and the appraiser's not letting you close without it or without an invoice, like just sometimes it's small stuff, sometimes it's big stuff. And one I haven't ran into yet is like encumbrances. I haven't come up with some crazy encumbrances. I did have one that had a lien by a bank that had been bought out 4 times over, tracking that down to get it to the closing table. And also the titles were never surrendered to the land. So the titles were in possession, technically on record, by some lady that we did not know that was alive due to her age. It took a week to track her down. Um, had a great phone call with her. Turns out she has brain cancer and doesn't even remember
Oof.
owning the home at all. And getting her talking with the attorney, trusting the attorney, and quit claiming everything over because she hadn't possessed the house in 40 years. That one was a wild one. So like you see some crazy stuff in real estate.
And then how do you kind of maybe protect your clients from some of that crazy stuff while like letting them know that you're working for them, right? Because I'm sure they don't want like there is such thing as too much communication in my mind. But like how do you kind of like navigate like how much you should tell them without like totally stressing them out?
Um, Always operate with need to know basis, and then of course, if you want to divulge a little bit more, some people try not to put certain things on the radar because no matter how much you tell a client, hey, don't worry, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, a lot of people are still going to worry. So
Right.
just knowing what is the right thing, like if we're like way out of comps, but the client insists on offering there, I do put on the radar like, hey, we're likely going to have to talk about our appraisal down the road. If I'm looking at it and it's marginal amount of money, it's like, okay, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. There's no way that we get 21 days into a contract and we can't negotiate a $2,000, $3,000 difference. So like that, I don't, that I would say information is pretty easy on. But if I saw, like when we had the liens and the titles not surrendered when we were under contract, that one I had to, I had to tell them like, hey, I need your help because you bought it technically from this lady. If you have any way of contacting her or finding out if she's alive, like we do need your help. And of course, my seller in that moment was a little frantic. She was like, well, what am I supposed to do if we can't figure it out? But that is the thing is, we're surrounded by professionals. We are going to figure something out. Um, I mean, I worked with the attorney pretty closely on that one. Thank goodness for Selena Wilson. She is awesome over at Ratchford Firm. Um, and then of course, we got my seller to the closing table. Didn't even have to delay. So far, I've never been hit with anything yet where I like fail sale, where we have to terminate or kick closing down 4 weeks because of something crazy. So I've been very lucky, knock on wood, for that so far. Like I said, it just kind of goes back to the you just need to know basis is huge, but no need to worry. Like I try not to really ever freak clients out. I mean, sometimes you tell them info, especially like when they're really close to you. You're going to tell them stuff that, hey, this might sound scary. It's not. Let's just because I also don't. You don't want to be the person that's always serving up surprises either. Like the worst thing in real estate is surprises. Um, but I think that's why, like when I'm doing showings and stuff, when I'm representing buyers or when I do my listing agreements, I'm pretty transparent. I try to come with like as much knowledge about the house as possible, so I can like this listing that we have live today, it has solar panels. And during the listing agreement, like kind of just went through and explained to them how those solar panels can mess up the valuation of the home. We're seeing a lot where like salesmen are coming through and they're saying, hey, if we put these $50,000 of solar panels on your house, it's going to increase the value of your house $50,000, $60,000. And appraisers have a completely different thought about that valuation. And so it's just really, instead of going in that listing appointment and talking to them and saying, oh, cool, you got solar panels on there, and then not warning them that could, you know, cause issues on the appraisal if they're trying to push that into the listing price. Just staying ahead of it, setting expectations. I feel like that's just the most important part. Just if you can from the beginning get the expectations set, get most of the information out there, it makes your job a lot easier.
Certainly. And, kind of it sounds like a solid foundation for building trust.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Do,
Like I said,
do
if,
you
if
know?
people are
Oh,
trusting the team, that's sorry.
oh, you're
It's
fine.
just,
Go
it
ahead.
is all about building trust. That's what makes everything go as smoothly as it can.
Certainly. Do you know? I'm curious about this solar panel thing. Why do appraisers they don't find them as valuable?
It depends on it. I mean, oh, we could talk about appraisers. It depends on the appraiser for one, but two,
Mm,
the solar panels are doing two things there. They are providing a benefit to the home in many ways, mostly related to energy. But then the grid they're set up on, what's the conversion rate? Like here, Southern Company, it's a 2-to-1 conversion, so like you pretty much can never be independent of the energy grid in the area. The other is that as long as those solar panels are financed, you have a lien on the house. It is operating as a lien. If our sellers decide they're not going to pay them, or say they don't pay it off at closing, which I don't think any attorney is going to allow, but say they wanted to, and they wanted to fly with their equity, that lien is attached to the house. So somebody's responsible for $20,000 of solar panels. They're sitting there. So appraisers are looking at it in that view as well. If you talk to roofers and inspectors, there are issues with man, I feel like I'm about to open up like a can of just criticisms on solar panels, and I like solar. It's just got to be the right fit. So I'm not trying to
Totally.
knock it. Just it does cause some hiccups in real estate. There's a lot of times where, based on how they're installed, the conditions, you'll get like mold and like this moss algae buildup. It'll deteriorate the shingles at a faster rate just where they're at. If they're not installed correctly, obviously it can damage the roof. So that's a rat's nest. So appraisers, it's the same way with the pool. You can spend $45,000 on a pool. An appraiser is I can pull 8 appraisals right now out of my emails where I have the appraisal report. The home had a pool, and at the end of the day, that pool was 6 years old. They're not giving you $45,000 of value to your house. Maybe they'll give you 13, 13.5. I think 15 grand is about the highest I've seen of a very nice heated underground pool. So it's just like appraisers are operating within their means with the way they're trained, the uniform residential report, and working off comparable sales. So it's never a 1-to-1. The moment you buy something, you can buy a new construction home. If you sell it 6 months later, there's usually a form of depreciation. Typically, obviously, we're in this market where year over year, the homes are appreciating still over time. Then again, I can't speak for all markets, but for us, that is because we're just seeing so much growth year over year. This area is I don't think we expected any of this 5 years ago. So
Well,
I
that's cool.
rant a
Thank
lot.
you.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I was going to say, thank you for shedding some light on that, pun intended. No, I think that's really interesting because, like, for me, just like aesthetically, and I know this sounds so silly, maybe I don't find solar appealing, and I'm in Michigan. And so when I see people in Michigan with solar panels, I know you're not completely independent because we literally, like, 8 times out of 10, like most of December is like cloudy here. So I know you're not getting
Mhm.
any solar in December. Um,
See, here in
I,
Georgia, you get blasted by the sun.
oh,
Like we
yeah.
really do. It's heavy sunshine, so it can benefit. But like, I'm sure that there's a math equation out there to show your energy savings month to month, and then the financing and interest you pay month to month on the solar panels, and then tracking that out over how many years you need to be living in that house. And we see it. We see it from time to time. People put solar panels on a roof, and within 5 years, they're selling their home, and they may have never actually seen any return on their investment of those solar panels. That being said, I will say in most cases, it's a good time to be a buyer through solar. Um, that's usually how I kind of talk about the listing appointment. Is there's value coming from it, so usually it's priced a little bit higher, but the buyers most of the time are not set up to absorb that like a transferable loan. And so if it's absolved at closing, like they now are the ones that may get the return on investment, because they just rolled a marginal amount into their 30-year mortgage,
Right.
but
So if you're,
their energy bill is like very low and they're not paying financing on solar panels. So it can kind of honestly be a winning aspect for buyers, as long as they're staying on top of the roofs, keeping it inspected, keeping everything maintained well.
yeah. So the trick is if you're passionate about solar, you buy somebody's house who already had solar. That's what I'm taking away.
Yeah. Yeah, that or it just if you really are like if you're in your long-term home, 15 years, maybe the math then it does work out, and it probably does. I don't want to be anti-solar because I'm not like I think the next home we're pretty confident because we are in the real estate market, knowing that the next thing that we do and what we live in probably gonna be long-term, so we will float the idea of solar. Um, I don't think it makes sense for first-time buyers because most time, anything can happen anyways, but I see people all the time. They bought their first house 4 years ago, and they realized that it's built and accrued some equity. And with that helping with any down payment they now have, they can kind of like upscale into the next home that maybe they have their family in. Then that would be a little bit tricky. It's like, hey, you got this $15,000 still of solar panels pending. The financing was set up where it's not transferable and you can't sell it with the lien. You have to absolve it at closing. You tell somebody they have $40,000 of equity, but 15 grand of solar panels have to be paid off. That's now $25,000. It can be quite a difference. So difference maker. It's just got to be the right setting. And
This might be a crazy question, but would anybody just like be like, I'm taking my panels with me? Or like, are they, when they're on the house, they're like on the house?
as far as I know, the way that it works is each like when they come out and they measure your house and they're looking at like the angle of the sun throughout the day, like it's pretty much that the solar panels are individualized to the
Mm.
house. In fact, like the listing we're in, if you drive through the neighborhood, everybody's solar panels sit differently, they fit differently. I mean, the whole thing. I'm wondering if they can. We've just never even like pioneered that if they should. Like I said,
Right.
we've been
That's
in a
I'm just
very
like thinking if I spent all this money, I would want to keep it, but
yeah. Yeah, I think that would be a very in-depth call with the people with the solar panel. Like I said, I run the listing appointments a certain way, kind of talk to them about like what we're seeing with the solar panels in the process. If you had a setup that was one size fits all, then we would explore that. But based off if you have a very specific roof shape, I mean, I would think the solar panel company that financed and installed it would have a lot of say in that as well. It's just for us, that's never been part of the solution but I mean, each one's individual. So maybe next week I will go to a list point where they have solar panels that might eat up all their equity, and they're like, hey, we'd rather take them with us. I guess it goes back to like if they want to take their washer and dryer, if they want to take their stove and put a new one in, like you just gotta explore and know the rules. Make sure that everybody, I mean, disclosure is everything. So disclosing it to the agent, hey, the stove you see in there, it's real nice. Yeah, we're gonna yank that. We're gonna put a different one in that really attached to their gas stove. Um, something like that. You'd have to do the same way. It would start with contacting the solar panel company, seeing if that's even an option.
so kind of along these lines, because I'm sure you never thought you would know as much about solar panels as you do today. Are there any like surprises along this journey for you other than becoming a like amateur solar power expert?
Oh no, I'm not an expert at all. I just kind of know how it's impacting the sales. Are you asking like specific about solar or just? I'm
Oh
sorry,
no,
I
just
don't know.
any surprises along the way, like things you never thought you would know a whole bunch of information about.
Oh yeah, water heaters, windows, the way windows are assembled. I mean, like you go into your first home inspection and you're looking at like this dreary moisture accumulation. You're like, what is that going on? And then you start learning about how windows are manufactured and the seals become compromised and moisture gets put in and this is what it does over time. And I'm like, okay, I would have never actually known that. It probably would have happened at my home on my windows, and I never would have thought twice because when you're living in it, it's something like that. It's like cosmetics, like oh that window sucks. All the time. I mean, that's why we see it so often. Is most people are like, oh, it's like my window's sweating a little bit, and they just deal with it. I don't think I would have even ever really paid attention to compromised seals on windows. Now I'll be driving through neighborhoods and it's like, I mean, it's just like you know how they make fun of people that drive through like the countryside and they just point and go, "Ooh, cow." I'm like that
Yes.
about windows now. I'll be like, "Ooh, look at those compromised seals," and it's just like, why is that stuck in my head all the time? Um, Water heaters. I've never been interested in really anything with the plumbing growing up, and now obviously that is one of the hugest impacting things on a house. Yeah, I mean, just water heaters. Uh, there's interesting stuff too. I mean, I've learned a lot about like building code and buildings themselves, which is awesome. That was my first love, anyways, in high school. I wanted to be an architect. Got super involved in Revit, and now I'm going into homes that are like 1900s and being rebuilt basically from the ground up versus you'll go into a brand new construction 2023 and seeing the difference. It's pretty cool. Um, I'm wondering if there's anything out there that I really didn't expect to know about though. Hmm.
Do you ever think you would get like a builder's license and kind of go in that direction?
No, no. I would love like I like working with them and everything. It's a completely different knowledge set. A lot of times, you're representing clients, or all the time I'm networking with clients that they're in the building process. And don't get me wrong, I love my builders. It doesn't always go smooth for the client. I mean, there's a lot of people that say you only build once. You'll like go through a build, and I'm not talking so much about like like the big franchise builders that come through and they'll do a whole neighborhood, but like contacting a private GC. Again, it's all about finding the right person. I mean, we have some fantastic builders in the area, and then I've just sat there and heard some horror stories. my buddy Clinton. I mean, like I could hear him. If you just even mention it, you'll get a nice little 1 hour rant about why he hates GCs. So I mean, I'm sure that it's like that way I'm sure there's agents, appraisers, anything, lenders. It's you just finding the right people. It's this is a very people-driven industry, obviously, and finding the right people makes everything so much better. I would never want to get on the GC side. I don't want to deal with those pressures. I don't want to deal with a material being delayed, and that delays like a little domino effect of other contractors that lined up to come in, and next thing you know, the people expecting to live in that house in March aren't living in the house till May. I don't want to be the person responsible for that
I get
personally.
that. I worked for a builder for a while, and overheard a lot of conversations of like, what do you mean such and such thing isn't ready? What do you mean it's going to be 3 more months? What do you mean? And you're like, oh my God,
And
it's
what
not
stinks
me.
is like, they're the face of it. They're probably the one, but like, sometimes a lot of that is completely out of their control, and yet same time
Mm-hmm.
you have to sympathize with it's the impact that it's having on that family. Because I mean, could be catastrophic. That like they're justified in feeling angry and feeling sad, and then who to blame is just they've been talking really to this one person the whole time. So of course they're frustrated, and maybe I mean it happens in real estate too. It's just like there's a lot of emotions going on in this industry, and just knowing how to direct them at the same time. If a client is very upset about something and they're misdirecting their anger at me, it's like I just in that moment you always try to just like level with it and be like, okay, I know that they're not mad at me, but I am the face to whatever's going on, and so you just gotta. It's tactfulness. Like you don't want to sit there and be like, hey, well, I'm not the person you should be upset at. It's just let them be upset. Like I mean, it's a very human. Like I said earlier, it's a very humanistic type job, and there's a lot going on. Every day we get off work and we go to our homes. It's where we raise our kids. It's where we spend time with our loved ones. It's where you eat dinner. I mean, like it is integral to life. And so it's like I'm very understanding that there's just a lot of emotions are heightened. And the great part is that when the emotions are great and they're heightened, it feels awesome, but you got to understand it's going to come with there's going to be a lot of sadness. There's going to be a lot of anger sometimes, frustration. It's just natural. Definitely on the
Yeah.
building side, though. I mean, like, when you're signing a contract that's 6, 7, 8 months at a time, that's a whole lot of time for more curveballs. I mean, if a normal contract can close in 30 days, a resale home, and they can have curveballs, think how many curveballs can come in if you multiply that by nine. 9 times the opportunity for things to go south. So, yeah, I don't
That's
want to be on
real.
the GC side.
Yeah, that's a really, that is a really like vivid picture for me. That's a great way to put it. So I recently discovered cheap old houses, and I saw that you, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, with a buyer's agent for a house featured on cheap old houses. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I was. Yeah, McLaws Road.
That was a
Yeah.
cool house. So, I'm curious, like, did you present it to the buyer or did the buyer, like, find it on cheap old houses? Like, what's the story?
They did not find it on cheap old houses. I don't know how much I can talk about that, honestly.
Oh, okay. Well,
Um, I mean, but it's just you always get these people that are very, very caring and attentive and passionate about what is going on in their hometown. Um,
mm-hmm.
and this is one of those people, ears to the ground about a lot of things that are going on. Saw the opportunity to like make something absolutely beautiful, and just went out there and like the moment that they saw it, went out and got it. It was actually, and I'll level with people because I don't want to put on the facade. I've never actually represented anybody in that type of capacity before. When somebody comes into the house, I can tell you right now, I am not an expert on 1904 homes and what homes can be saved from 1904. Um, and I told my client like directly, I was like, "Hey, this is gonna be weird because this is actually going to be a learning experience for me. I'm about to be learning from you. When somebody comes in and this is their not their first rodeo, then maybe they've done it 15, 20 times. I mean, what, like they have such an insane knowledge set compared to what I have. Ours is more so with license law. Not every real estate agent is out there taking 1904 homes and flipping them and turning them into something immaculate. But there are people that, that is their focus. So I am super excited to see what happens with that one. Actually, if you go on my Facebook, and if you wanted to see the person responsible and the incredible amount of thought and hard work that is going into that, we actually did a video with WindowStill, um, basically like a follow along interview with that builder that's working on that. It's going to be amazing. Um,
Oh, that's so cool. I'm for sure going to check that out. I
you
can't believe I
you
didn't
should.
see it
It's
already.
Yeah, you should. It's I mean, like I cannot. We're like I said, we're in this booming economic like boom for our area, and then we have like this incredibly cute town. We have several, but Springfield is like going back through this like booming stage. They built Highway 21 around the city before I was born, and it pretty much crushed that economy because the main road no longer was the main road. People driving out of Effingham.
Mm.
And like I remember being a kid and skateboarding on the sidewalks and like businesses just not even be like they were just all empty spaces. Every single one of them was vacant, except for a Snooks Bargain. No, it wasn't even Snooks Bargain spot back then. It was Snooks Grocery Store. I applied for my first job there actually, and outside of that, we didn't have a lot. We had a chicken place, and then at the far end we had like a gas station. And then I remember several years ago now, I can't even think of how many. Um, we had this complete revitalization of the Mars Theater. It was a classic historic theater, and it's a tinier theater, but it's so awesome walking in now and seeing it being brought back to life. And it looked like it kick-started like this like resurgence of just Springfield like just absolutely booming again. It's a beautiful town. There's so much exciting stuff going on in that town, and it's because there's people that luckily they have the benefit, the ability to do things like this, but they also care enough to do it. Like nobody. If you ask people that live in our area, I mean, we have thousands of people come to the area. How many of them care about if Springfield's coming back to life? Only the people that live here care. And yet, there's something now that a lot of them would appreciate if they saw it. I mean, you hear it all the time, like, "Oh, I haven't been to Springfield in like 2, 3 years. I didn't even recognize it." We're lucky that we have these players in our local economy that they really do care about bringing this place back to life, and they're doing such a great job. It's awesome. I wish I could find some compare. I probably do have a little bit of photos from my real estate doing like the neighborhood photo package. I probably have some comparisons, but I mean, we have a lot of things going on. I mean, there's several commercial developments going on right now in Springfield just on the main road, and it's not very long. It's like maybe 12 blocks long, and we have multiple commercial developments going on from several of these people. We have a district square. They're pretty much going to completely revitalize the community park that's right there in downtown Springfield. It's awesome. Yeah, I could talk about that forever. In fact, if
That's
you
so
want to just talk the rest
exciting.
of the podcast, we can just talk about
Yeah.
Springfield.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, it's very clear from your Facebook, which I spent some time perusing, how much you care about your local area. You're just constantly sharing local businesses and things like that, and I think that's very cool. I think as an agent, it's so important to be involved in your community that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably another thing to get me in trouble. I'm not big on like giant commercial corporation type stuff. Like I love that so much of what's going on with us. It's people in the community that again like they're wanting this community to grow and to be better. We're all about supporting small businesses. I don't care if something's $5 more expensive if it's at a local place. I would love to support those people. They're bringing their business to us and trusting us to stay in operation. Like I know that convenience is a thing, and I know that obviously money is incredibly important, but at the end of the day, like supporting your local businesses, your local entrepreneurs, your local restaurants, we're all about that. All about that. There was a small restaurant that popped up years ago in Savannah, and I remember, I think by the end of like 2 years, I'd made like 40 people fans of it. Like anytime anybody was visiting Savannah, they're like, "Hey, where should we go?" Okay, you got to go to Troopio. 100% drive out to Savannah, go to Troopio. When my friends would come down from Maryland, we would always take them out to Troopio. I mean, it was that like I just love finding small businesses that I love, like just getting as much exposure to as I can. It's like when you find something really, really great that you love, you want to share it with everybody. It's just that.
Yeah, because you want it to stick around. it's like great. You get to share it with other people, and then it helps ensure that you get to continue to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Which I was actually sad. Trupial did close for a little bit, but they're back open and
Oh,
working on a different
okay.
kind of like business model. It's Trupial on the fly, so it is still there, and they're doing a lot of pop-ups at the farmers market. But they had this beautiful venue downtown, and I had to break some hearts when I told my out-of-state friends they come down every year for like an annual giant water slide, and I had to text like 15 people and be like, so Trupial might not be on the menu this year. And I mean, everybody's lamenting like it is a big deal. But now they're operating some capacity, so we're going to be able to get it in.
Oh, that's so cool. Because I want to check it out too. I need to get back to Savannah because I love it so much.
Oh,
It's
beautiful,
so
beautiful city.
beautiful.
We love it. Yeah. And if you love
Yeah.
coffee and you love baked goods, Trupial is the place. So,
Oh, okay. So I I worked on film and television when I was in Atlanta, and we spent a whole week in Savannah when I was working on Ozark. And one of the other production assistants there was a local, and so I said, "What is good local coffee?" Because I think I had had Perk at that point, loved Perk.
yeah. Yeah.
Had my
Good.
first lavender latte in Savannah, and now it's like the really popular thing. And I was like, okay, but
Yeah.
Savannah did it first because they're cool. And we were staying right on River Street, and the local guy was like, "Oh, you should go to Foxy Loxy." And I go, "Okay, can I walk there?" He's like, "It's a long walk." And I was
Yeah.
like, "It's okay. I will do it." And so I did because I didn't have to work until later, and I, needed to kill some time. So I walked all the way from River Street to Foxy Loxy, and I got there and they were closed because their espresso machine had broken.
Well,
And I've still never had that coffee. So one day.
oh, it's good. It's good. I would definitely recommend if it's ever that long of a walk. The cool thing about Savannah is our pedicabs. I love supporting our pedicabs. In fact, when I was younger, a lot of my friends were pedicabbing, and that was the cool
Oh, is
thing. You know,
that the
you could
thing where they ride
the
on the
bicycle
bicycle?
taxis. Yep, it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
cool. Yeah, like and Savannah obviously has really cool open container law in certain areas, so it was pretty cool being able to like we would walk out of like our favorite little place like Hang Fire and then grab a pedicab and go up to Forsyth or something, then go back to town and go to the rail or something. No, that was like crazy or wild. It was just always a fun experience out there.
Yeah, it's a great place to be. I did a ghost tour. I did the bar crawl ghost tour, which was the way to do it, if you ask me, with some friends one year, and I really enjoyed the wet willies, the slushies. It was just a really great time.
We have a beer brewery uptown in like Midtown area now called Two Tides, and they do instead of like the Wet Willies, they do beer slushies. And I know that that sounds weird, but like they specialize in lactose-based sours and stuff. So like I mean they did one it was like cinnamon toast crunch beer slushy, and I was like, there's no way that I would ever consume this. It was delicious. I mean they do it and they'll like have they do I mean Slush Fest they like shut down the little side street um, DeSoto, and they'll have like 20 different beer slushy flavors and collaborations with
Oh
other
my
breweries
gosh.
and stuff, and they'll have like pop-up markets. It's really cool, and we have so much cool stuff in Savannah. We're running out of room, but also like I understand why people want to move here. The whole Savannah area. It's not just Savannah itself, not just Effingham. I mean, it's just I'm very lucky to be here. I'm very lucky to have grown up here. We're traveling a lot more and we're seeing other areas that we really love too. But at the end of the day, like home is home. We went to Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Vermont in January and also in March, and it's they call it stick season. You get up there and there is not a leaf in sight, and I mean it's still pretty. There's snow everywhere. It's gorgeous. But then this past trip we went in March, and I didn't even realize like how green Georgia already was at this point of the year until I went to Vermont where everything is brown and white. I mean, we got like 12 inches of snow while we were up there. It was beautiful. I mean, like I just don't see stuff like that. You in Michigan, you probably do. Here, like snow is foreign. I mean, I've seen snow. I can count on one hand how many times I've seen snow, and half of them I had to travel for it. That was not in Savannah. And then we
Right.
landed, we got off the plane, and I was like, it is insanely green here right now. And so it's just like it's always home at the end of the day.
I'd like to take just a moment and tell you about our sponsor. WindowStill provides premium real estate media for agents, builders, and property management companies nationwide. To learn more, visit windowstill.com. WindowStill, helping America find their next chapter. Now, back to the episode. The thing you gotta love about the temperate climate, though I will say, when I was in Atlanta, I do think it snowed at least a little, like a dusting every year I lived down there. And one snow was quite more than a dusting. And I'm like, I'm from Michigan. I can handle this. The infrastructure is not there.
No,
You cannot drive.
no.
All of this northern hubris like got me, luckily got me to work, but almost got me in a car accident. But anyway,
Yeah.
but you're talking about all these like kind of festivals and things like that down in Savannah, and in Atlanta had very similar things. Gosh, you gotta love a temperate climate because there's always so much going on.
Yes, absolutely. We've been seeing this other side. Like we've been going to Vermont snowboarding, and it's like seeing these families like powwow on the mountain, and they're taking their kids down. It's like, man, it'd be so cool to grow up close to that. But then at the same time, like we got snowed in that Saturday. There was nothing we could do until like 7 p.m. And I mean, that's a place where the infrastructure was built for it. And it came down so fast that like the locals weren't even on the roads. Local businesses had closed. So we didn't leave the house till like 7 p.m. to go get pho to like warm back up. And so everything comes with its good side and bad side. Like we don't have anything as exciting as snow here often, like in Savannah, especially. Like I know Atlanta sometimes will get it. Savannah, I have known of it to snow 3 times in my lifetime here. In one of those years, I had moved away.
Oh
But
gosh.
then we do, we're afforded with the fact that our water sports go a lot longer than most people's. I mean, you can swim in your pool, you know, as early as March. I don't recommend it, but we do like a little, um, basically like my best friend, his whole life they've jumped in the pool on St. Patty's Day, and I've missed the past few years, but I used to go do that with him. We would jump in the pool every St. Patty's Day, and you could sit there and swim. It just wasn't as fun, but I don't think anybody's swimming in their backyard in Vermont or Michigan in
No.
March, and pool parties can go as late as like October here. So, we do have that little edge. We have the beaches and whatnot that because of the temperate climate, usually you can carry yourselves on them a little bit later into the year. So I'm learning the things that like I grew up romanticizing that we didn't have. They're great too, but like I think overall, I am addicted to this climate. I know it gets hot, but I would rather be hot than it's cold. Um, I actually like the humidity. Anytime I'm in a dry place, like my skin is just miserable. I feel like I'm bathing in lotion. So like there's so much like
Mm.
I don't think I think I've been institutionalized biologically by Georgia, and we're probably stuck here forever. So
Well, it's a great place to be. Brock, do you have anything you're looking forward to this year, either personally or professionally?
yeah, two of them, but I can't talk about them. I have three of
Okay.
them. I can't talk about them. My wife just got her real estate license, so we are teaming up.
Oh,
That is actually I am
congratulations.
definitely excited for that. We've already started working together. We launched our um, second listing together this morning. Uh, excited for our annual water slide party. Um, we're lucky; we have a lot to look forward to. Um, yeah, I'm excited
Well, that's
for,
cool.
but most of it, I feel like I hit like 28 years old and became ambitious, and I wish I had that in my earlier years in life. A lot of things I'm excited for professionally. Like I'm working on trying to get started on my the second business where I would work for myself. But on top of that, I actually do have a W-2 full-time job, so I'm like trying to juggle 3 jobs right now. It's been crazy. As I was telling you, like before the podcast started, it's just been one thing after another. But I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what this year turns into. Like last year, I'm very goal oriented. So my first year I got my license, I had a goal and I tried to be realistic. Then my second year I had a goal and I barely met it. And this year instead I wanted to focus not so much on like numbers, like just kind of we had this big slowdown again as we do, but it just felt like the holiday slowed down sooner. I think my last closing last year, like I was doing really, really well, and then my last closing was first week in November, and I didn't close again until middle of January. And my first year, I would have been freaking out, like I would have been losing my head about it. And that second year, I just took it in and made sure that you can't work all the time. It's not healthy, And so enjoying the slowdown, just making sure like I was conscious of the fact that, we'll get back out there. We'll do our work. We'll keep farming leads and working how we can to build relationships and keep the business going. But for that moment there to actually enjoy Thanksgiving, enjoy Christmas with my family, and just slowing down for once and realizing I don't have to be going 120% all the time, that was nice. Don't look forward to it being as slow this year though. So I'm hoping it's not as drastic, but just knowing like I'm getting better about embracing the ups, and it's a roller coaster, and like being
For
down
sure.
here usually doesn't feel good, but I'm getting better about being comfortable when it does, and just kind of just taking in all the other elements of life that when like right now when things are up here, I don't get to enjoy. And it's just like I just have this little switch in my brain where I'm just like, cool, might be 5 weeks, but we'll relax sooner rather than later. And but when I'm in the troughs, it's like I'm getting better about just being like, okay, cool, this was that moment I was looking for. Rest, relax, recuperate, come back better, come back more mindful, come back like with a renewed sense, like a nice renewed mentality. So
That's great. I think you have to. I think you like have to take in the slow time to prepare yourself for the busy times.
yes,
And I heard
and
someone say recently, like, you have to make space for things to come in. So, like being comfortable in the stillness, I think is really important. And so I'm glad that you're finding that.
yeah, finally, and like I said, I know when I was approaching it, I was not looking forward to it, but it was good. And like you said, getting comfortable in the stillness, I like that. That was what it was. It was like when I did one showing the day after Thanksgiving, we wrote a contract. We had a long closing. I didn't like nobody was interested, and I'll be honest, I didn't like put myself out there. Like for that month, I was just like, you know what? It's Christmas time, and I want to enjoy that. So I just did. Like I just kind of, hey, it is what it is. Let's just focus on what I have right now. If anybody called or had questions, I still serviced everything I could. But like I just knew that like my pipeline, I was calling my pipeline what's coming up. It wasn't built up and heavy right then, and so I just let it be, and it was cool to just kind of have 5 6 weeks where I was like more mindful of the present day. I've gotten this really bad habit of like I'm so focused on trying to push forward in all of my jobs that I have, that I do realize that I am also time is limited and time is precious, and I'm in my ambition, I am also losing time with loved ones and with friends. And so, like, trying to always juggle the connections. Like, I'm lucky to be surrounded by a lot of people that kind of know what I'm doing and how I'm carrying myself for probably the next, I don't, hopefully not 20 years, but there's just this pace that I've been on the past 3 years. Um, like I'm always going to be there for like my super loved ones, my friends. I have a group chat daily. I'm sometimes like with my best friends from childhood, and sometimes I don't talk for 3 4 days, but then they know like they show up on my doorstep Friday night. Nothing's going on Friday night, so I'm just hey, cool, awesome. Sometimes I need people to kind of spring up unannounced. It honestly helps because if not in those moments of stillness, the first like few days you unwind, you're like, I'm gonna just focus on relaxing. I think this Easter weekend, I had 2 days where I didn't like really get off the couch at all, and that was the first time I did that in like 6 weeks. So it was pretty cool. But then like if somebody would have sprung up unannounced, that would have been perfect because it would have got me, back socializing. So I need to definitely focus on continuing to like not neglect, friendships and limited time with family. That's probably also the downfall of, I think, working at the pace that I've been trying to work at the past few years.
Right. It's that elusive balance.
Yeah, I don't know how people do it. Anybody that, and the crazy part is like I'm surrounded by professionals that, like I come a little bit differently, but I'm not the only one that works a full W-2 where, I'm in and out of my factory position like quite a lot. Like I'm not in the factory, but I work alongside the factory, doing engineering support, and I'm there like a lot. And I'm also still out in real estate a lot. Like I'm doing really, really, like I'm grateful that I'm kind of gained some momentum and I'm doing really, really well. And like I'm also getting to the point where I'm nice, like I acknowledge it for myself. And yeah, I know agents that are, I mean, doing way more and they're like kicking ass. But they're also like at their like kids' baseball games and at the softball games and choir. And I'm like, how are y'all doing all of this? Like, I wonder if I cut out the 40 to 50 hour stint with job, if I would be able to still produce at that higher level and still maintain grounded with family. But like it's crazy. I mean, like we all just that balancing act. And I'm sure, maybe I'm not seeing what's going on behind closed doors of like how they do manage it, but I mean, it's insane what people can do. Like when you put your mind to it, when you're committed to just working as much as possible, it also be when your family, like, people are doing some crazy stuff. I mean, I know the time split must be nuts and like hitting all the like I'm thinking of my friends Caitlin and David. I mean, like they don't miss their kids' soccer games, they don't miss choir, they don't miss like nothing. They're at city council meetings, they're at school meetings, and yet like they're steady producers and they're investors. And he has a landscaping business. I'm like, how do y'all juggle it all? Like it's crazy. I mean, Billy Joe in our office, she is a monster. Like she is like an incredible agent, super high producing. And like I always see her posting with her family and stuff too. I'm like, yeah, y'all are wild. Like I need to really learn and take notes because like we're lucky we can do what we're doing right now because we don't have kids, but we want kids. So it's like that balancing act. I need to get prepared for balancing it more so that I do have that time and figure out how people can cater to all the needs in life. I'm very boomer bust, and so I know that that's unhealthy. Like I'll just focus and hyper fixate on mostly one thing, and everything else, I guess, gets a little bit neglected.
But it's really lovely that you have those people in your life, not only to aspire to be like them, but to learn from them. Like they're right there, they're in your sphere. And I think you will get there.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
I, I think you will because I think someone with passion and drive like you who also, understands how important the stillness is for resilience. I think you are all set up. Like the dominoes are falling in place. I think it's just like time. It's like time to marinate.
Yeah, maybe so. And, but time is taken. One of the main things we always talk about is like, when's the right time to have kids? We're not super young anymore, and so it's just like it's somewhere in the 5 year plan, but it's like I don't know. It's just time is the one thing they're not making more of, so it's just like trying to squeeze every bit out of every day that I can. It's really what we're focusing on right now. Have you ever heard of people talk about that revenge procrastination?
Like revenge sleep procrastination, where you stay up
Yes,
too. Yes.
yes,
Listen, I told all my
yeah.
friends about that because I got really good at it for a while.
Oh, I am in the throes of it. My wife, she was the one that like brought a name to it. She was like, because one day I was just like, she was like, why did you not go to bed until 2:30 a.m.? And like, because I have to be up, I mean, like no later than
Mm-hmm.
8 for like factory meetings and whatnot. I'm just like, I'm like, I got done and I settled down like at 11 p.m. and I just like that's not it for me. Like, I can't just go straight to sleep. My brain doesn't, it's not wired to where it just turns off and I go to sleep. I could go lay in bed, sure, and I'll think about power transformers and the people I talk to in the factory and then clients I need to call and paperwork I still got to do. And like, I just would not sleep. So it's like, I do other things to unwind. My big thing right now is the jigsaw puzzle. Like every night I just go home and I'll just play my little jigsaw puzzle at the kitchen table until like 1 in the morning. And then finally I'm like, okay, cool. Go unwind. Scroll on my phone for a
I
second, go to sleep.
I do feel like the getting rid of like media, getting rid of like television, and like I use that sleep focus function on my phone. That has helped, like reading a book instead or doing something like your jigsaw puzzle. I think it does help. But I don't revenge sleep procrastinate anymore. So there's a light at the end of this tunnel for you, Brock.
Okay, good, good.
I think you'll come out on the other side. I think you're working on it. And I think it's smart that you don't just lay in bed because science says then you'll start to associate that with wakefulness. And yeah, there's a whole lot of sleep studies that I've listened to. All good stuff out there. Well, Brock, thank you so much for your time today. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah, thank
Let
you.
people know how they can find you and work with you.
I'm active on Facebook. I do have an Instagram, and it's actually my preferred media, but I don't post on it anymore. Like I am just for Instagram, I'm a scroller. Twitter, I'm 100% just a scroller. Facebook is really the only media. Of course, anybody can call me. I do have a Google page. I don't. I should honestly be sending in clients for like reviews and stuff, but there's certain salesman parts of the sales job I just don't like, so I just don't do it. I'm lucky that most of my stuff is organic sphere of influence, so I haven't had to do that stuff. And the longer that I don't have to do it, the better for me because I just don't like doing it. Even this part, but yeah, people can find me on Facebook. They can text me. My phone number's on my Google page, so pretty easy to get in contact with.
Cool. And we'll link it in the show notes. And I'll call it out for you. If you have worked
Sure.
with Brock, would you please do him a favor and go leave him a rate and review? It will help his business and find more awesome clients like you.
Hey, I
Well,
appreciate that.
yeah, thank you so much, Brock. And thank you all for watching. This has been The Closing Table brought to you by WindowStill. I'm Kat Schooler. If you're enjoying this podcast or enjoying Brock as your real estate agent, please leave a rate and review. If you're on Apple or Spotify, make sure you're following us. If you're on YouTube, give us that like and subscribe. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next time.